Young country club member to Clint. Sir, this entrance is for members. You'll need to use the guest entrance around back. Clint showed his membership card. 40 years. What the club president shouted from across the lobby and what happened to that young member became club legend. It was a Saturday morning in March 2017, and Clint Eastwood was arriving at Pebble Beach golf links for a round of golf with 3 friends. At 86 years old, Clint still played regularly, and Pebble Beach, one of the most exclusive golf clubs in America, had been one of his favorite courses for 4 decades. Clint had joined Pebble Beach as a founding member in 1977, back when the club was transitioning from public course to private membership. He'd been playing there ever since, knew the staff, knew the other longtime members, and had watched the club evolve over 40 years from a relaxed California golf course to one of the most prestigious clubs in the world. He pulled into the main parking lot in his pickup truck around 8:45 a.m. The lot was nearly full. Saturday mornings were busy, but he found a spot near the clubhouse entrance. He grabbed his golf bag from the truck bed and headed toward the main clubhouse entrance, the same door he'd been walking through for 40 years. Standing near the entrance, checking his phone, was Tyler Morrison. Tyler was 28 years old, had joined Pebble Beach 6 months earlier after his father, a tech CEO, had sponsored his membership. Tyler was new money, new to golf culture, and very conscious of status and hierarchy. He'd learned quickly that Pebble Beach had rules, standards, and a social structure that needed to be maintained. When Tyler saw an elderly man in worn jeans and a faded golf shirt approaching the main entrance with a golf bag, he made an instant assessment. The main entrance was for members. This old guy, dressed like that, driving that old truck, he was clearly a guest of a member, probably someone's grandfather, and he should be using the guest entrance around the side of the building. Tyler stepped directly into Clint's path as Clint reached for the door handle. "Excuse me, sir," Tyler said with a polite but condescending smile. "This entrance is for members. You'll need to use the guest entrance around back." Clint stopped and looked at Tyler. "I'm a member." Tyler's smile didn't waver. "Sir, I'm a member here and I don't recognize you. The guest entrance is clearly marked. It's around the building to the left. You can check in there." "I'm checking in here," Clint said calmly. "I've been using this entrance for 40 years. Tyler's tone became more firm. "Sir, club policy is very clear. Members use the main entrance. Guests use the designated guest entrance. If you're uncertain about the rules, I can walk you around to the correct door." By now, several other people in the lobby area had noticed the interaction. The lobby of Pebble Beach Clubhouse is an elegant space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the 18th hole in Carmel Bay. On a Saturday morning, it was busy. Members checking in, staff preparing for tea times, people having coffee before their rounds. About 30 people were in the immediate area, and conversations were starting to quiet as people noticed the confrontation at the door. Margaret Chen, a longtime member who'd been a friend of Clint's for 20 years, was in the lobby having coffee. She saw what was happening and immediately stood up, but before she could intervene, Clint reached into his wallet. He pulled out his membership card, a simple card with the Pebble Beach logo, his name, and his member number, and held it up for Tyler to see. "I'm a member," Clint repeated. "Member number 00147. I've been a member since 1977. Tyler looked at the card, then back at Clint, then at the card again. The number was low, very low. The lower the number, the earlier someone had joined. But Tyler, who'd only been a member for 6 months and whose number was in the 8,000s, didn't fully understand the significance. "Sir, membership cards can be, if you're a guest using someone else's card." "It's my card," Clint said, his patience wearing thin. "My name is on it. Clint Eastwood. I joined in 1977 when this club became private. I'm a founding member." The lobby was now completely silent. All 30 people had stopped what they were doing. Margaret was walking toward them. A staff member behind the check-in desk had picked up a phone, calling someone urgently. Tyler, incredibly, still didn't believe him. Or more accurately, he didn't want to believe he just tried to turn away someone who might actually be a member. His ego wouldn't allow him to back down. "Sir, I'm going to need to verify this with—" "Tyler!" The shout came from across the lobby, loud enough that everyone jumped. Richard Hammond, the club president, had been in his office reviewing paperwork when the front desk called to alert him that someone was confronting Clint Eastwood at the entrance. Richard had literally run from his office. Richard Hammond was 62, had been a member of Pebble Beach for 30 years, and had known Clint for most of that time. He was also intensely proud of the club's history and its founding members. Seeing a 6-month member trying to turn away one of the club's most respected founding members made his blood boil. "Tyler, step away from that door right now." Tyler turned, confused, and saw the club president advancing on him with a look of fury. Richard reached them in seconds. "Mr. Eastwood, I am so sorry. Please come in. Tyler, my office, now." The lobby remained silent, 30 people watching. Margaret Chen had her hand over her mouth. Several other longtime members had recognized Clint and were shaking their heads in disbelief at what they'd just witnessed. "Richard, it's fine," Clint said calmly. "He didn't recognize me." "It's not fine," Richard said, his voice still raised. "Tyler, do you know who you just tried to turn away? I was just enforcing club policy by challenging a founding member, by telling him to use the guest entrance, by questioning his membership card." Tyler's face was going from confused to pale as he started to understand the magnitude of his mistake. "I didn't know he was founding member," Richard's voice carried across the entire lobby. "Member since 1977, one of the original members who helped make this club what it is, and you tried to send him around to the back entrance like he's some tourist who wandered in off the beach." Margaret Chen spoke up from where she was standing. "Tyler, that's Clint Eastwood." Tyler looked at Clint again, really looked this time. The height, the build, the face. Even at 86, even in casual golf clothes, it was unmistakably Clint Eastwood. "Oh my God," Tyler whispered. "Oh my God is right," Richard said. He turned to address the entire lobby, which was still watching in complete silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize that you had to witness this. Mr. Eastwood is not only a founding member of this club, he's one of the reasons this club has the reputation it has. The idea that he would be challenged at the door and told to use the guest entrance is unacceptable." He turned back to Tyler. "You've been a member for 6 months. 6 months. And you thought you had the authority to tell a 40-year member where he can and cannot enter?" "I was trying to maintain standards." "Standards," Richard's voice went up again. "The standard at this club is that we treat every member with respect, but especially our founding members who built this club when people like you were still in diapers. You don't get to stand at the door deciding who looks like a member and who doesn't, based on their clothes or their car or their age." Tyler had no response. He was shaking slightly, aware that 30 people were watching his humiliation, aware that he'd just made possibly the worst mistake of his membership. Clint held up a hand. "Richard, I appreciate you standing up for the principle, but the young man was trying to do what he thought was right. He was wrong, but he was trying to enforce what he thought was policy." "The policy is respect," Richard said firmly, "and that includes not assuming that someone isn't a member because they don't meet your expectations of what a member should look like." He gestured to the wall behind the check-in desk where there was a display of photos from the club's history. One of those photos, from 1977, showed the founding members at the club's opening ceremony. Clint was in that photo, 40 years younger, standing with about 20 other founding members. "That photo has been on that wall for 40 years, Richard said to Tyler. "You've walked past it every time you've checked in for 6 months. Did you ever look at it? Did you ever notice who the founding members were?" Tyler looked at the photo. He'd walked past it dozens of times and never really looked. Now he saw it clearly. Young Clint Eastwood, 1977, founding member. "I'm sorry," Tyler said quietly to Clint. I didn't. I'm very sorry." Clint nodded. "Accepted. But learn from it. Don't judge people by how they look or what they drive. Judge them by how they treat others." Richard wasn't as forgiving. "Tyler, we'll discuss this in my office, now." As Tyler walked toward the office, Richard turned to Clint. "Your tea time is in 20 minutes. Your foursome is already here. They're having coffee on the terrace." "Thank you, Richard." Clint walked through the main entrance, the one he'd been using for 40 years, and headed toward the terrace to meet his friends. The 30 people in the lobby slowly returned to their conversations, but the incident was all anyone could talk about for the rest of the day. By that evening, every member of Pebble Beach had heard the story. By Sunday, it had spread to other country clubs in the area. By Monday, it was being discussed in golf circles nationwide. Tyler Morrison met with Richard Hammond that afternoon. The meeting lasted an hour. Tyler was not expelled from the club. Clint had specifically asked Richard not to do that, but he was placed on probationary status for 6 months. He was required to write a formal apology letter to Clint. He was required to attend a special orientation session about club history and founding members, and he was required to volunteer for a month helping with member services so he could learn about the club from the staff's perspective. More significantly, Tyler's reputation at the club was permanently damaged. He became known as the guy who tried to turn away Clint Eastwood. Other members were polite to him but distant. He was never invited to join foursomes. He was excluded from social events. Within a year, he quietly resigned his membership and didn't renew. Richard Hammond used the incident as an opportunity to educate all members, especially newer ones. He sent an email to the entire membership explaining what had happened, without naming Tyler specifically, and reminding everyone that membership at Pebble Beach was about respect, history, and community, not about judging others by superficial markers. He also made changes to the new member orientation process. Now, all new members were required to attend a session on club history where they learned about the founding members, saw the historical photos, and were explicitly taught that status at the club wasn't about wealth or appearance. It was about behavior and respect. The photo of the 1977 founding members was moved to a more prominent location in the lobby, and a plaque was added. Founding members, the foundation of our club, 1977. Clint's name was listed, along with the others who'd been there at the beginning. Margaret Chen, who'd witnessed the entire incident, said later, "Tyler learned something valuable that day, but he learned it the hardest possible way. He learned that you can't look at someone and know their history, their accomplishments, or their standing. Clint looked like someone's casual grandfather. But he's been a part of this club longer than most current members have been alive. That's the lesson. Respect isn't about appearances. It's about recognizing that every person has a story you don't know." The story became known as the Door Incident at Pebble Beach. It's told to every new member as part of orientation. It's referenced whenever someone starts making assumptions about other members. It's become a fundamental part of the club's culture. Don't judge by appearances, and always respect the people who built what you're now enjoying. Clint continued to play golf at Pebble Beach regularly. Staff always greeted him warmly. Members always treated him with respect. And no one ever again suggested he use the guest entrance. If this story of country club hierarchy meeting founding member reality, of a young member learning that status isn't about age or appearance, and of how one confrontation became a legendary teaching moment, moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with anyone who's been judged for not looking the part, anyone in membership organizations, or anyone who needs to learn that respect is earned by how you treat others, not by how you look. Have you ever been excluded from a place you belonged because someone assumed you didn't? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about dignity, respect, and the danger of assumptions.